Very simply, our society is lacking good quality men. Quality being the main word here. There's lots of boys, just not a lot of men. And there's only really one way that we become men is we have to transition from boy psychology to man psychology. I get comments on my page from men trying to insult me. I'm like, where did we get to in life that this is the caliber of men coming onto another man's page to try to get my attention to insult me? Like, where have we gotten to as a standard for men that we actually engage in this, that we seek this out? It's gone so far that it's actually quite sad that this is the quality of males that are out there at the moment. Now, this isn't a broad stroke that every man's like that, but this lack of impulsivity, sorry, not lack of, this over indulging in impulsivity of men that can't control themselves, that can't handle their emotions, that feel they need to say something just online because that's what's important to them. They're operating like teenage girls. Actually, teenage girls probably wouldn't operate like that in this day and age. It's really sad. So, like I said, there's lots of boys, there's just not a lot of good men. And so one of the first things we actually have to take a look at is boy psychology. There's a lot of that around. Boy psychology to man psychology. And this is the journey, not only that you have to go through, life's going to make you go through it. So you might as well buckle up and face it. This is the way that I see it. You must start to want to mature into a male man psychology. An alpha male is not this Andrew Tate rubbish ridiculousness that's out there. An alpha male is just a man that has met his mature masculine psychology in the absence of immature distortion. Immature distortion is the programming, splitting from the mother, separating, going out into the world. That's all it is. That's all an alpha male is. It's a male that has met his masculinity. That's it. This is where naturally you will want to be a provider. Naturally, you want to protect something. Naturally, you will want to look after the people around you. Naturally, you will become resourceful. This is where the money thing comes in. Money's good because you can help more people. The more resources you have, the more you can help people. That's the way it should be. That's the point of it. It's not to hoard and have a Bugatti or whatever Andrew Tate says. Like that guy's I actually think that guy has been put there. I do believe there's some sort of psychological operation going on with him. You don't get that famous accidentally by being that controversial. There's tons of controversial people out there. But to get that rich and still operate in that, he's a really poor example of masculinity. And I think he's been put there as a reason. Now, I think he's going to start to change and probably try to stay relevant because, and I'll predict this now, I think he's going to start saying that marrying one woman is a good thing because I think that he's becoming irrelevant and people aren't buying it anymore. So he'll start to change the narrative. That's where you see him be exposed. I think he's a fraudster and I think he's the worst possible example you can look to for a male. The only part that I would say that I would agree with him is he's strong, he works out, and he takes care of himself. That's it. A man should do that anyway. Work out, train, do all of that. You know, that's a good thing. You do jiu-jitsu like I have for a long time. It's just an important part. It's an important part of being a man. He didn't invent that. That's from Stoic philosophy or even probably before that. It's just natural. Anything else I wouldn't listen to with the guy. So he's like he's sort of like in teenage boy psychology. That's where I would say I put him. And that's a really poor example of where he's at. There are better men out there that operate in a good way. It's just difficult to identify it because anyone that is now in the space gets labeled as misogynistic, toxic, manosphere, red pill. So it's a deliberate kind of attack on it. But over time, when you start to say one thing is everything, so if everything's misogynistic, if everything's toxic masculine, then nothing is. That's the way that it looks at. And then unfortunately, for the people that do, really embrace misogynistic or toxic masculine traits, what happens is it actually, because it creates such a broad stroke across everyone, it loses its meaning, and then people that have suffered as a result of it don't get taken seriously. It was the same thing that was around in, I think 3-4 years ago, that was my ex is a narcissist. If everyone's a narcissist, no one is. You know, that was a really common theme. And I think only about 1 to 3% of men are actually diagnosed with narcissism. So those 2 or 3% of people have dated every woman out there, according to every woman, because every woman's ex is a narcissist. So it lost impact for the people that had suffered from it. Like myself, I'd been in a narcissistically abusive relationship. It's terrible. And you only do it once. You don't do it multiple times. You don't keep going back again and again and again and again, because it'll push you to the limits of your existence. It's very, very difficult to be in. It's very difficult to get out of, and it's very, very difficult to fully heal from. It's quite traumatic. So it was unfortunate for that narrative became so big that it actually ruined it for the people that were truly suffering. And it's the same thing with this. If everything's toxic and misogynistic, then nothing is. No one takes it seriously anymore, and it just becomes a joke. So this is where the landscape of social media becomes an issue. So this is why quality will start to outshine this garbage over time, because the people that feed on the broadsheet tabloid gossip style social media, that stuff will just start to be partitioned off anyway, and then your character will stand out. On a long time horizon, which is not social media, it's like 1 to 3 seconds, on a long time horizon in your life, the truth will always start to emerge. It will always start to come out. That's what happens. And so this is why when I say the journey from boy psychology to man psychology, if you don't go for it as a man, life will draw it out of you like poison from a wound. And crisis will be the thing that precedes the evolution necessary for you to go through it. This is why men, midlife crisis, my age onwards, I'm in my 40s now. What they do is they've usually been married at this point, they've got kids, and then their boy psychology starts to need to die off due to midlife crisis. So what do? Instead of doubling down and doing the work, they get divorced, buy a sports car. Nothing wrong with buying a sports car. I've got one, by the way, but it wasn't from a midlife crisis. They buy a sports car, divorce their woman, and try to upgrade to a younger woman simply because they're trying to hold on and stay relevant to that boy psychology. A man won't do that. He'll double down and commit to his family and make sure he looks after it, not split up. So midlife crisis is when the work hasn't been done, it will be initiated by life for him to let it go. This is where a lot of men develop health issues, heart conditions, cancers. They get overweight, they don't look after themselves. Some of the guys that I've worked with are the same age as me. They're overweight, fully gray hair, pale. They look 20 years older than me because they just haven't looked after themselves and they haven't done the work. And so life will start to initiate them. This is often where the wife might leave them, or they'll leave the wife, they'll split up the family just because they're trying to hold on to something. And the resistance that's generated around that will cause a breakdown. But a breakdown in life is just a breakdown of a structure internally, but it will feel like we're having a quote unquote nervous breakdown. This is what happens. I had this happen to he's not a friend, but he's a good friend of one of my best friends. He's older, sort of late 50s, early 60s, sexually abused when he was younger, multiple marriages, all of that. And now in his 60s, he's starting to become confronted with it as his body starts to give up. And he feels he's having a breakdown, ended up in hospital. And I'm like, he's just having a breakdown of a structure because he needs to address the thing that he hasn't actually looked at. A breakdown is the breakdown of a structure. Once that happens, you have a breakthrough. It's quite simple. And the boy psychology and the man psychology have no choice in the matter. Life is going to put you into it. There was a book, I can't remember the name of it. It was by a psychiatrist. He was dealing with schizophrenic patients in psychiatric wards. And in the set of symptoms that all of them were going through were Roman conquering wars, battles, dreams and visions of kings, all that sort of theme, right? Like Roman conquering, etc. And what happened is this whole book was designed around the evolutionary, the psyche evolution. What happens is when we're upgrading in the collective conscious, this is more Jungian work, the king archetype, which is not just about sitting on a throne like you're a king, like it's been used. It's an actual part of the archetypical structure of the male psychology where you move through. When you start dreaming of this, you'll start to dream of wars and battles and things around kings and the Roman Empire, which is in our collective memory, when you actually go through it and you start to move into it, it will be an upgrade and evolution of your psyche to move into a more mature space. And he was working with people that were schizophrenic. And as he started to help them liberate the emotional and traumatic energy, all of them were dreaming and seeing the same things about moving into, or of these wars and these Roman battles and kings. What was happening is they were going through a crisis and moving and upgrading in their psyche. All of their symptoms went away once he helped them process it, because there was a battle between two parts of themselves, the old self and the new self, the false self and the true self, the immature boy psychology and the mature masculine psychology. This isn't necessarily to say that you walk around saying, I'm a king, or whatever delusional shit that some people on social media might do. That's not it. It is simply just an advancement of your psyche in an evolutionary process.